When my father told me I was a failure and kicked me out of the family business, I was devastated. He laughed and told me I would never be successful without him. But as I left, I looked him in the eye and promised, "You'll be the one regretting this." What he didn't realize was that I had a plan to take the business back and leave him with nothing. I'm not proud of everything I did, but I'll say this, he earned it. I'm 37 now, but this started a little over 3 years ago in Spokane, Washington. My dad ran a construction business, custom homes, remodels, light commercial jobs. Nothing huge, but big enough to pay everyone well and keep our name respected around town. My grandfather started the company after the war, and my dad inherited it in the 80s. I started working there right out of high school. No college, no fancy degree. Just boots on the ground, picking up nails and hauling lumber until I knew the ins and outs better than most guys with a clipboard. You'd think a father would be proud of that. But not mine. He always saw me as the screw-up son. The one who partied too hard in his 20s, who racked up a couple of DUIs before finally getting sober. I've been clean for over 6 years now, but he never let me live down the past. He never hit me, never called me names directly, but his disappointment was constant. Subtle digs. Jokes that weren't jokes. And I took it year after year because I thought I was earning my place. I thought eventually he'd see me as his equal. By 2020, I was basically running the day-to-day operations. Estimating jobs, managing crews, handling permits, smoothing over client issues. I was the one who kept things from falling apart when COVID threw everything into chaos. He didn't appreciate any of it. When I suggested we pivot into water restoration to ride out the pandemic downturn, easy insurance work, high demand, he shot it down immediately. "We don't need gimmicks," he said. "Stick to what we know." What he meant was, stick to what he knew. But I didn't push back too hard. Not yet. Then came the basement job in late 2021. A mid-sized residential build. We subcontracted the waterproofing to a guy I didn't trust. My father overrode me. "He's cheap and he's fast," he said. Fast, sure. But he cut corners. Big ones. Whole basement flooded after a rainstorm. The homeowners threatened to sue. We ate over $120,000 in repairs and lost 2 potential referral jobs. Dad went nuclear. Not at the sub. Not at himself. At me. He berated me in the middle of the office. In front of the PMs, the admins, even our junior estimator. Said I was dead weight. A failure. Said I ruined his company. I stood there, hands in my pockets, jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth would crack. Then he said it. "You'll never be successful without me." He kicked me out that same week. No warning. No severance. No thank you. Just a cold meeting in the conference room with his lawyer. Told me my shares, left to me by my grandfather, had quietly been bought out during a company restructure 2 years earlier. I didn't even know. I'd signed some documents he gave me just for the accountants back then, not realizing I'd basically signed away my claim to the company. I left with nothing. No savings. No job. No support. I rented a crappy basement apartment and picked up side work doing handyman jobs, pulling permits for small-time builders, anything to stay afloat. Every night, I replayed that moment in the office, his voice, his smug face. "You'll never succeed without me." I knew I needed to make a choice. Either move on or burn him to the ground. I chose the fire. But I didn't do it with rage. I did it with patience. Because he made one fatal mistake. He underestimated me. And more importantly, he overestimated the loyalty of the people he'd treated like garbage for years. I didn't start True Line Construction out of inspiration. I started it because I had no other option. I had a couple $1,000 left in my bank account, a few tools I'd stashed in my truck, and 2 guys who believed in me more than my own father ever did. Chris and Leo. We'd all worked together for years under my dad. They saw what happened. They saw how he blamed me, how he used me up and threw me out. They left quietly a few months after I did. Said they were done working for a man who saw people as tools. We started with one kitchen remodel in the South Hill area. It wasn't much. $28,000 total contract, but I treated it like $1 million job. Showed up early, stayed late, and made sure every line was straight, every invoice clear. The client was thrilled. Word spread. I didn't try to go after my father's business directly. Not yet. Instead, I built my own lane. I focused on the jobs he thought were beneath him: small remodels, insurance rebuilds, aging in-place modifications. The things he mocked as busy work. But those jobs added up. Fast. Then something happened I didn't expect. My old clients started calling me. Not just homeowners, builders, architects, even one of our biggest commercial clients, a developer who ran 3 strip malls and a senior living complex. They all had the same story. My dad was slipping. Bids were sloppy. His crews were rushed and underpaid. He'd lost half his office staff and replaced them with temps. He wasn't just arrogant, he was lazy now. Complacent. And I was waiting. I didn't gloat when clients left him. I didn't try to poach. I just did good work and treated people right. I made it known I wasn't part of his mess anymore. Word spread fast.
Spokane's not that big.
Reputation matters here. By year 2, I had 3 full-time crews, 2 part-time estimators, and a backlog that ran 5 months deep. I bought a small office on Division Street and started advertising in local radio and online. That's when he noticed. He called me out of the blue. First time I'd heard his voice in over a year. "You think you're hot shit now," he said. "Little jobs, little company. Don't forget who taught you everything." I laughed. "You didn't teach me how to treat people. That part 1 learned on my own." He hung up on me. Then things got dirty. A city inspector, an old drinking buddy of his, suddenly flagged 2 of my jobs for code violations. Petty stuff. One of my trucks got keyed in our office parking lot. We started getting bogus 1-star reviews online from people who weren't even clients. But I had something he didn't: documentation. I'd been keeping records of everything since the day he kicked me out. All the corner cutting, the safety violations, the unpaid subs, even copies of old emails where he threatened vendors. And now, I had something else too. One of his old bookkeepers. She'd quit 6 months earlier and came to me for work. She brought a flash drive. Said she was sick of the way he talked to people, sick of covering his messes. That flash drive had everything. Years of financial creativity. Labor violations. Misclassified employees. Fake OSHA compliance reports. I didn't go to the authorities. Not yet. Because if I was going to destroy my father, it wasn't going to be fast. It was going to be surgical. Strategic. And soon I got my chance. The flash drive wasn't just a weapon. It was a window into how deep the rot had spread in his company. Payroll fraud. Tax manipulation. Fake subcontractor invoices. My father wasn't just sloppy. He was criminal. And worst of all, he didn't even try to hide it. He really thought he was untouchable. I sat on the evidence for a few weeks trying to decide what to do. Part of me still wanted him to come around, to call me and say he was sorry. That part of me was dying, though, fast. Then I got a call that sealed it. It was from my cousin Nathan. He worked for a general contractor in Coeur d'Alene. He didn't even know I had been kicked out of the company. He just wanted to give me a heads up. "Hey, just so you know, your dad's bidding on that Westview senior living project. The city one." I froze. That was a project I'd been prepping for over a year. I knew the city planner. I'd worked on a smaller job for their housing committee months back. My estimate was clean. My pitch was solid. But my father was undercutting me, using a near-identical bid package, right down to the phrasing. I checked my cloud documents. Someone had accessed my proposal. I'd sent it months earlier from a shared company Dropbox folder, back when I still had access. He must have kept copies. And now he was using my work to beat me to the punch. I was livid, but it gave me a new idea. I didn't just want to beat him in business. I wanted everyone to see what he really was. So I made some quiet moves. First, I reached out to the city procurement office. Slipped them some polite questions about how bid evaluations were handled and whether past OSHA violations or labor complaints were considered. They told me yes, absolutely. Public projects require clean records. Then I sent an anonymous tip to the Washington State Department of Labor. Included key screenshots from the flash drive, just enough to trigger an audit. Not enough to expose myself. Just enough to light a fuse. 2 weeks later, the city quietly pulled his bid from consideration. He found out fast. And he knew it wasn't just bad luck. Next thing I know, I'm getting letters from his lawyer. Accusations of defamation. Harassment. I knew he wouldn't sue. He'd have to open his books in court. But it told me something important. He was scared. Then came the real twist. One night, about a month later, I got a knock at my apartment door. It was my mother. I hadn't seen her since before he fired me. She never called. Never emailed. Always took his side, quietly, passively. I figured she was just as cold as he was. But now she stood in front of me, pale, hands shaking, clutching a manila folder. "I think you need to see this," she said. Inside were copies of documents, life insurance, trust accounts, company equity agreements, and a letter from my grandfather. It was dated 2005. It said that when he passed, 30% of the company would be placed in a protected trust, irrevocable, and assigned to me, provided I was active in the business. I had been for nearly 15 years. My father's buyout of my shares wasn't just sneaky, it was potentially fraudulent. He couldn't have touched that trust without forging documents or hiding it from me, which meant everything, every firing, every transfer, every change in ownership, was sitting on a ticking legal bomb. My father didn't just kick me out of the business. He stole it from me. And now I had proof. I spent the next 6 weeks meeting with a lawyer who specialized in trust disputes and corporate fraud. He was sharp, direct, and when he saw the documents my mother brought me, along with the digital records from the old bookkeeper, he whistled under his breath and said, "Your dad's either really arrogant or really stupid. Probably both." We filed suit quietly. No press. No threats. Just a perfectly worded civil complaint, delivered to his house on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't asking for the company back. I was asking for my rightful ownership, plus damages for fraudulent misrepresentation, breach of fiduciary duty, and illegal removal from a trust. The court ordered discovery, and that's when things really started to fall apart for him. Emails, bank transfers, forged documents with mismatched signatures. It all came out. The judge even flagged certain pieces for potential criminal investigation. While this was going on, my father's business collapsed in slow motion. Subcontractors started bailing on him when word got out about the audit. A key client pulled out of a $1.2 million job. One of his foremen filed a formal labor complaint and tagged TrueLine as his new employer. His reputation, the one he used to weaponize against me, was bleeding out in front of him. My mother, for the first time in her life, stood up to him. She gave sworn testimony confirming that my grandfather's trust instructions were known to both of them. She told the court he bragged about cutting me out to teach me a lesson. When she finished her testimony, she didn't look at him once. 6 months later, we reached a settlement. The judge made it clear he was likely to lose everything in trial. So my father agreed to transfer 30% of the company assets directly to me in liquid cash value. He also signed a formal apology, under legal obligation, acknowledging the fraud and his attempt to deceive me. But I didn't stop there. Because what he didn't know was that I had already acquired the lease to his main office building, through an anonymous LLC I created with the help of my lawyer. It was easy. The landlord was sick of his late payments and constant code violations. He wanted out. I bought it right out from under him. 1 week after the settlement, I sent him a 30-day notice to vacate the premises. He tried to call me. I didn't pick up. A month later, he was gone. The building was empty. I turned it into a training center for new construction workers, guys just starting out. No college, no connections. Just grit. The same kind of kids he would have sneered at. TrueLine Construction now has 5 full crews, a year-long backlog, and a spotless reputation.
We do things right. We treat people right.
And my name? It's no longer attached to his mistakes. As for my father, he lives in a condo on the edge of town. Word is he tried to start another company under a new name, but no one would touch him. His suppliers burned him. His clients moved on. And me? Every morning I drive past the old shop. I see the name Trueline painted where his used to be. And I remember the last words he said to me before he kicked me out. "You'll never succeed without me." He was wrong. But I didn't just succeed. I took back everything he stole. And I left him with nothing.